And if you want to create directly, we can navigate to the records tab, and you can move to decision category, and you can find out the decision table rule. Click on create option. Now let me take one of the decision table rule. Let's for taking for loan process, let's say credit check. Just now we discussed, right? So I want to evaluate the credit score based on the loan amount and income. I want to set the few conditions to approve the loan or corresponding actions, whatever it is present. I want to check, right? So let me check credit check, let's say, and under one of the branch and the class I want to capture it's for interaction class, create and open. So this is how when you create a new decision table, this is how it is going to happen. And make sure don't forget to maintain the history. Just give the history tab and what is the description of your and what is the usage of. So to use to checks the conditions of approvals, let's say. Just consider this part, and when you open this one, right, you can find the columns and rows here if and otherwise condition. So if you want to add the more conditions and if you want to add more actions, right, let me take, I just want to here I consider the values like I want to approve the loan process based on the three criteria. One is credit score, income and loan amount, and then based on the written values I want to return something. So to do this, first we need to mention the properties here in the column level. So but here only one column is there and one return value is present, right? If you want to add more columns or more rows, you have this enabling this. So by default it will be disabled once you click on this row, right? So this is going to be enabled. So you can see here insert row before, insert row after. If you click this one, it will be added the row before that wherever you clicked, right? If you want to add one more, right, so you can click the row after, means wherever you selected after that one row will get added. And this is the one which is going to be delete the row. You can directly delete the rows and you can add the rows, you can delete the rows. These three options will be useful. If you want to add the columns, right, you can use this one. Insert column before means the column is going to add before the selection. If you want to add it after, means it is going to add like this. If you want to delete, right, so you can select and you can delete the column. And these are the things like insert or before, insert or after, I will show you. So in the single condition only we can add one more step, three steps. Like in when single row, let's say sometimes I want to check under one condition, I want to check three yeah, under one criteria I want to check three conditions in one cell only. So in this kind of situations we can go with these options, or else we don't need to go. So this condition is like sometimes for email triggering part I want to choose few countries for one region. Let's say uh, one business unit is there. Under that business unit I'm let's say South Asia. Under that business unit I want to take few countries like India, Australia, India and Sri Lanka are few countries. Based on that I want to return one email ID for them. Only for these countries I want to trigger the email. I want to keep CC to this manager only. So in that case, what I will do, here I will mention the business unit, here I will mention the countries in multiple ways. So directly I will add this one, and each of the one I will mention the countries. So what decision table will check, it will check the business unit, it will check the for the countries. Based on the countries it will return the results. Like this in one cell also we can mention multiple values by using this one, or else we can maintain only one cell. Okay, now based on that we have to return the results. So let me take here, let's say I want to capture the properties. Right now I don't have the properties, we need to create it. But just will take like property like uh, what we plan to take credit score, right? Let me take credit score. Just consider it's like value is already present. Okay, means the property is already present. Let me take this one as credit score. And credit score value when you capture, right, so you need to check the use, or else if you want to mention only it is going to be equal to, or if you want to mention any kind of greater than or less than values, if you want to include, you can keep it like this. So then what it will happen when you include these things, right, so this is going to be allow you to mention the value. Is this greater than, less than values or something. Now let's say another property I want to capture for income. Let's say this property, if it is present, And income value, I don't want to maintain any. So here also I'm going to capture greater or less than values, because I'm going to differentiate between the ranges, right? So okay. And the third one is for loan amount, how much loan amount you're looking for. If you keep it is equal, right, only you're allowed to do only one amount. So loan amount, let's say this property is already exist, and this I didn't provide the range and the result value. So you can directly save this, and this will show error because of the properties are not present. So that is the reason it is showing. And one more thing. Okay, properties are not present, just ignore this part. And now what we need to do, we need to mention the scores. Like let's say my, if the credit score is greater than 700, let's say I can mention this, if the credit score is greater than 700 and income is greater than let me take something 50,000, and loan amount is when it is coming to the 2 lakhs, let's say, and I want to return something like approve. Now based on this return value, we are going to use it in the decision shapes. When it moves to the decision shape, right, there we can use this value. Okay, so I will show you this one. So before that, we'll just try to consider this one. And when the range is going to be in between 600 to 700, let's say, if it is greater than 600 and less than or equal to 700, let's say, in this gap, when the income is going to be, let's say, greater than 1 lakh 50, and they are looking for the loan 2 lakhs, let's say, again, then I want to just review the case. And if it is again less than, completely less than or equal to, or if it is less than, right, so you can mention here. And this is, I don't want to mention anything directly, I want to reject the case. So based on the return value, I will decide again. If it is nothing is matching to this one, right, I just want to reject it only. This is the otherwise condition. If none of the things are matching, also where you want to map this result return value, which one you want to map, so you can map in this way. So as of now, this credit score and all properties, whatever the properties I'm having, I'm just keeping. We'll take one more property, but right now I don't want to create with another properties, just to sample one this is. So we'll just try to add, we'll keep the label itself. Label is like that only. We'll just try to add few of the things, few of the properties. Just a second. Uh, okay, something, some technical issue here, it is not opening, but nothing, no, it's not a problem. So like this way we can define the decision table. So after this one, right, we can test here also. I just wanted to test, but it is not allowing. Okay, we'll consider this one in the we'll take one scenario, we'll do that. And here what we can do, no? So once we say this one, from actions we can run by checking this action whenever the account type is greater than 700, something loan amount is this one, whether this value is returning or not. So we can do manual unit testing here. I will show this one. So right now, after this one, what we can do, we have to integrate with the flow. So to integrate with flow, what we can do, so we need to create a new case type for this. Let's say I have one scenario, like I will create a new case type. In that, I will mention the stages like application, submission, evaluation, and decision. So decision means like in the evaluation stage, this decision shape I will keep. Let me consider any one of the case type. Okay, so I just don't want to dig more because I will cover it, but let me take one of the case type here. So let's take the interaction one. Already we used one decision type, right? So let's say after the customer data, I just want to open it. After the customer data, I want to keep one decision shape. Let me check out this one. So after this one, I just want to consider the criteria. Let's turn on the draft. So later what we can do at the particular time, right? So we can use the decision shape here. So this decision shape is going to evaluate the conditions, right? So you can double click on this. You will have some option to choose the conditions. You have the fork and you have the decision tree. You have any kind of when condition you can keep by using functions, boolean expressions, map value, predictive, and score model. So many things are there. And last time we used the fork and boolean expression, right? Let's go with the decision table. So you need to mention your decision table rule here and also result in. So based on this one, once you call the decision table name here, right? So based on the required result, wherever it is going to come, right? We need to map the value. Let's say here you can keep the return value result, and in this results, whatever the decision table results you are going to get, right? Once you call the decision table, the return value will be triggered. So when the return value is approved, I want to move the case to somewhere, like let's say return value is approved, and this connector, and I want to move whenever it is like this, right? I just want to keep one of the assignment, and I want to move the case to here. Approvements, let's say I want to move it to directly to one assignment. Let's say if the going result is going to get like reject, if it is rejecting, right? So I just want to close the case. Let's say directly I want to close this case. And we can keep one more thing also, like we can take one more connector in the result, like if it is auto approve, let's say, just to understand, if it is, let's say it needs an approvals, then in this case we can add some sub processes to go with the approval process. Again we need to configure everything. So like this one, we will define in the flow level, we can integrate with the flow, and we need to use the decision table, data transformer activity to trigger this part. Okay, so like this we'll do in the decision table, and the data transform, as I mentioned, with the functions we can call. So by doing this one, what kind of benefits we'll get, and this is a complex, this is very smaller one, but in real time you will get this kind of requirement only with a lot of criterias. Okay, lot of criterias they will mention. We need to understand like how to maintain, how to get the return value. We need to test properly whether the value is returning or not, any kind of values like else if and else if condition, how it is working. In this way we need to think, then only we can understand and implement. And by using this one, we can maintain the automation process. The benefits are like, after by using this decision table, right? So we can have some kind of benefits. One of the benefit is automation. So the automation is like automates the decision making process and reduce the manual efforts and errors by using this, right? So we can maintain the manual errors efforts, and we can directly reduce the efforts and errors. So in this way we can reduce the bugs. Most of the things are going to be automation by using this shape, right? We don't need to mention anything by hard coding values in the directly in data transformer activity. And we can maintain the consistency also. So it's like ensure the consistency of the application of the business rules we can maintain in this way. And we can maintain the efficiency, so we can speed up the loan approval process, or we can speed up the like insurance processes, and we can improve the customer satisfaction by using these kind of rules. So this is the way we can use the decision tables. And let's go with the few of the examples now, and will go with the real-time process, and we can take few of the examples to understand more about the decision table rules. I will take two scenarios. Today will scenario one basic scenario, like how to implement the decision table in data transform by capturing one of the small scenario. Like I just want to capture not a big one. Just first we'll understand how to implement this one, right? So I just want to capture with one small scenario, and how to call the respect to columns and rows, how to integrate with the flow, and how it is going to give the results. Okay. Now I'm going to start the scenario so then we can understand more easily. So let me give you one scenario is like track students qualification, qualification status, let's say. This is the requirement. So this is very simple, like I just want to track the whether students are qualified or not based on their attendance, test marks and project marks. So let's say I would just want to capture the attendance of, I just want to include the attendance of students, and based on the test marks, and also I want to include the project marks also into this. Okay, so based on this criteria I want to create an application. So when system, like whenever the lecturer or someone is going to maintain these values in the table structure, like user is going to provide some values like attendance, this student attendance is more than 80%, and the test marks are he got like 20 marks in every test marks, like we can consider it, and we can maintain the project marks like greater than 50. So we have to decide whether the student is qualified in this semester or not, like that way. Okay, so to do this I just want to capture few of the information, and based on this one we can easily monitor their performance and provide the necessary guidance, right? So this is the way, and system will allow the teachers to give the inputs and attendance marks and other things for each of the student. And this one, if you want to include the only to the teachers, we need to maintain the access rules that I want to teach in next classes, so you can ignore that part. And also system will calculate the final score based on the given inputs, like based on the attendance of the, like attendance value and marks and the percentage. So based on that it is going to check in the decision table, we will maintain the return value. Let's say if the student mark is greater than 80, I want to keep one scale like 1 to 5. So in that I just want to include, when the attendance percent is greater than 90, return 5. If it is greater than like 80 to 90, return 4. And if it is like something less than 50, then return 0, like that. And also I will do the similar thing for test marks. If the marks are like 25, 20 to 25, return some value. If it is something between 18 to 50, 18 to 25, or 10 to 12, so this kind of results I will capture in the project marks as well. So based on that I will decide whatever the count is going to come. Based on that I will decide whether the person is qualified or not. In this 1 to 5 scale, right, I will decide like if the person is getting 3, more than 3, then I want to just qualify the result, or else I just want to disqualify the student. So in this way we can do these all things in one single decision table also. But as we start the decision table, right, so I just want to create three separate decision tables. Based on that we'll try to understand how we can maintain the different decision tables, different columns, how to integrate all the things in a single data transfer. You are clear, right? Just it's a simple one. We'll take a screen. Okay, in that user will come, he will enter the student attendance student, let me take one student like Gangaraj garu. So we'll take one attendance, his attendance is more than 80%, test marks are 18 on each of the subject. Or you can take, you can, it's your wish like how to build your screen. And project marks is more than like 80. Based on that he will, I will provide a button over there, check the results. When he click on the check the results, then it will show like whether he is qualified or not, like how we will check our results, right? MSET or ASET, these kind of things. So in the same way application. Okay, now let's create a decision table. I want to create three things. For one is for the attendance students, and one is for the test marks, and one is for the project marks. Let's go here, and before this one we'll try to capture the screen, or else after creation also we can do. Okay, let me create a new one. So we can create under the case type of anything. So let's say first we'll consider the attendance part. So you can check. Devendra, are you there, right?
Yes, Rakesh.
Okay, yeah. So I will capture one of the decision table here. Get attendance. Okay. So in this get attendance, I want to include my class like body injury, or I can include some other classes like interaction one only. So let's take the rule set and let's open this one. Here I want to include the attendance. So for this one, I just want to keep one property. Let me take the property name here. Let's say attendance percentage. For this one, I will create this one in the interaction class. In this interaction class directly, let me create this property, or you can directly keep percentage only, that's not a problem, or else attendance. Just create and open, and you can include the decimal value or some values, anything is fine. Just save it. Oh, sorry. Let's create and open. So here I just want to include the property here. So let me take the attendance percentage, and this one I want to use the range value. Yes.
For each and every property, you are creating one decision table separately.
Sorry.
For each and every property, you are creating decision table separately.
Yes. Yes. I want to create three separate decision table. Then I want to combine both three things into a data transform. This is one kind of scenario, and we can take a separate scenario again in email notification part, and we'll try to capture all properties into all the requirements into one single data transform. This kind of three separate
Oh,
scenarios I want to capture today.
okay, okay.
Okay. Now I just want to use the declare. This is like greater than or equal to, and I want to consider other one also. Let's say like this, and let's consider this one. I want to create this. So let me take it and save this one. Two kind of scenarios, right? Or else if you want to consider any kind of another property, if you want to include anything, you can add one more column. If you want to include on the right hand side or any kind of column means you can create also. Let me take one more thing like same property also we can include. And if you want, if you want to check multiple scenarios, right, you can go with this one again. In this one I just want to check whether it is greater than or less than. One time I want to check if it is greater than or equal to, and one time I want to check like greater than or less than. You can include multiple times also, and based on the results, like let's say I want to check this attendance percentage sometimes when it is 90, if it is greater than or equal to 90, or sometimes I want to keep the conditions like less than or greater than condition. I want to check like if it is greater than or equal to 90, or sometimes it is 80 to 90, 870 to 80, or less than 80. So in this one, in this way we can add the conditions. Let me take one more column row after, and like this I want to capture few things. If it is greater than or equals to 90, then I want to return the number as 5. Let's say I want to take a scale of 1 to 5. So in this one, if the person is greater than 90, right? So I just want to take the scale value as 5, because these scale values I will again count, and based on the scale value of these three separate decision table, right? I will conclude. I will conclude one of the scale value. Let's say after the greater than 3 or 4, I will capture those values as qualified or not directly, rather than maintaining qualified, directly maintaining the hard code value. We can try in a different way. Okay. So let's say the person is having greater than 90, right? Then the value is going to return as 5. Now let's say the student percentage between 80 to 90, greater than 80 or less than 90 in this way. And I want to consider this is as 4. And if it is between like 70 to 80, I just want to consider as 3. If nothing is matching, right, I will just consider as 0. Like this, I want to maintain the return values. So once I click on save, right, so you can directly do the test part here. You can just do the testing, like just go to actions and run. Once you are running this one, this will allow you to test. Enter the required values and click run again. So just I want to mention like 95. Okay, and once you click on run, right, so it will show the result return value. So whenever, so like how dynamically you are going to implement, right? So in the when you integrate with the flow, so same way we can test here whether it is properly working or not. If it is 90, then you can click on run again. It is still showing return is 5 because you are mentioning already here if it is greater than or equal to 90. And here directly you can maintain if it is greater than 89 only, sorry 79, like less than 80, greater than 80 and less than 90, right? So less than 89 or less than, okay, less than 9 means it will come to 89 only, right? Yes. So and as well as if you keep it like 89 and check it whether it is working properly or not. If it is like 69, how the result is coming, it is going to be 0. If it is 70, how the value is forming, okay. If it is 75, like how the result is forming. So based on this one you need to decide. There are few many conflicts also there in this one, right? So okay, it can be 91 or 90, 89.5, like this you need to check, you need to mention those values into this. You need to mention properly this greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, these values you need to understand based on the requirement. So you don't need to follow like this, you just understand the requirement, how the results you want to create, how the result, based on the result, how what kind of value you want to give. So while running this one and testing, right, you need to decide which value you need to provide in the value of reuse range. Sometimes you may need the equal to, or sometimes you may not. Okay, so like this, based on the requirement you need to decide how to give. Here is the guidance like how to create and how to use it. Okay, and how to check the return value, but the actual requirement when it comes you need to decide it. Okay, so these are the columns and rows you can add and delete. This is already we discussed, right? There are many options are present, we'll discuss slowly. Now let me create, now let's go with the new other one. So let me take another decision table for test marks. So in the similar way I want to create this one again. So this test marks I just want to consider again one property. So let me create one more property like tests. And one more thing I just want to create. I'm not including any kind of property type. Okay, so it's not required here. While you are doing, right, so when you are trying to do, you need to mention everything properly. And also I'm including project marks as well. So let me take the test marks here, get text marks. So in this one I just want to include few of the criterias like dot. So here also I just want to use the value. So when it is greater than or less than or equal to value, or in some cases I want to include, let me capture some of the rows and columns, or if you don't want we can delete also. Let's, it is not required to mention many times like in each column, but here based on the requirement I'm just giving here because I need equal to, greater than or equal to, and less than and greater than values also. Okay, or else you just need to mention only one column is sufficient to return the value. So here is like when the student is marks are going to be like greater than or equal to 20 to 25, and if I want to return the value as 5, and when the result is going to be like 15 to 20, and I want to return some value as 4, when it is like 10 to 15. And this is just a test marks overall, but if you want to include some all the subjects means you can do. And we can return, rather than this one anything is means I just want to return the value as 0. Just try while giving this one, you can just try and check how what kind of results you want. Let's say he got 24, and how the results are coming. If he got 15, what kind of results he's getting, and if it is getting 9, what kind of results are coming, and if it is getting 18, what kind of results he's getting. So like this. Like this, you need to decide what kind of value you want to map it to. Okay, so this is again, and I will discuss again like after integrating with the flow, right? So we'll understand how the what kind of results are coming, how I'm going to collect this all the scale values to into one thing. Let's understand that. Now let me go to project marks. If only one range you want, right, so you can directly use one range rather than using use range, right? Okay, and include one range also. And if you want to include multiple ranges only, then only you need to mention this one. So here again, if it is greater than 90 or 95, then the project marks, you can return some value scale. And if it is greater than 75 and 90 less than, you can include one more thing as well. Let's say if it is 45, I mean 35. Right. So this is the way I created the three decision table. One is for test and attendance. So based on this return value of, I will combine these three things whenever I want to, when the creation of the section, right? Like where the user will provide their values, and on clicking on the submit button, or I want to click when the user is clicking on the results button, right? I want to display the results whether he qualified or not, but I didn't mention anywhere the qualification part here. But I can capture these values into data transformer activity. Then I can capture the values and I can make the modification based on the combination of these scalings. I will decide if it is, when it is average is more than 3, then he is qualified. If it is average is going to be more than some value, it is going to be something disqualified, like that. So before that, let's create and one section. Let's create a section, and in this one we'll try to check how it is going to happen. So let me create one section like check score or something, just randomly will give some name. Now let's add the parts, like add the fields. Now here I want to provide the one property to check the results. Let me add one of the property here to get a score value, let's say. And this one we can make it read only better. Let's save this. So this is the way I want to generate the screen in a simple manner. So let's when the user is providing all those values, so based on the click on select, so check results means these values I want to map to integrated one to move to decision table, oh sorry, data transformer activity. Through that I will do some kind of logic there. Based on the taking these values, I will check in the decision table whether the values are matching or not. Whatever the values are matched one, so those values I will consider and I will decide whether the student is eligible to qualified or not. So to do this, what we need to do, on the click on this specific button, on click on this button I want to take the action. All right, on click on this button the event is going to be on click, and when it is going to be action is going to be taken as result, right? So let's consider the result as decision table directly we can take, or else we can directly use the refresh condition and we can call a decision table here. Let me take a decision table like get score, let's say, and click on this one and create a new decision table rule. And as you mentioned, don't forget to mention the history tab, what is the useful use of this one and what is the description. Okay, so this is a best practice, and don't forget to add a comment what you're actually going to do here. So this is going to be like similar thing is going to be like updated also, right? So in coming sprints, so you are going to work on this one and you are going to add more logics. Right now it is going to be initial phase, but you are going to add more logics means others should understand like what logic has been given here. So if you add the comment, it will be easier for the other developers to understand about it. So let's say like here I'm the getting score based on the criteria of attendance. Okay, so like this. Now let's add a new step, and we don't need a superclass data transform. As we mentioned, like it is not going to be depend on any other data transforms, right? We are not going to have the similar rule. Just keep it to avoid unnecessary callings. Okay, don't forget about this one. And I just want to maintain few of the parameters to capture the value, because here we are going to capture the results from this section rule, right? Whatever the values are going to come here dynamically, I want to pass to the decision tables, right? So we need to add it by using only parameters. Let's consider the parameters like one is student, what is that, attendance, right? So attendance TF, attendance percentage, let's say, and another one is test scores and project score. Just mention any kind of like parameter value to capture. Now let's understand how to trigger this part. So before this one, what we can do, we can use that parameter values to here to interact with the decision table. As I mentioned, in decision table, if you want to interact through the data transform, you will have
Rakesh, your
to,
screen is not visible.
screen is not visible. Yeah, I'm resharing
Yeah,
my
just
screen.
now.
Yes,
Now it's visible.
is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so just want to include, I just want to include the parameters here to get the value. Okay, so I have three decision table, right? So first I want to interact with the decision table to by passing these properties that result, and whatever the results are going to come, I want to capture into a parameter one. So let me take this parameter one. One is for the attendance percentage, another one is for test score, and one more thing is for project results. So as I mentioned, we can call a decision table into when you are calling the things into a data transform, you need to use few functionalities called px evaluate decision table. This is one of the functionality you can use, or else directly function is present decision table dot obtain value. This functionality also you can use it when you're planning to call it through the activity. You can use this method. So let's go with the data transform first, and we'll try to call the decision table. We have the decision table is ready, right? So this here directly we are calling the property, right? Attendance percentage directly we are calling. Sometimes what will happen, we don't call it directly, we can use some pages to pass it. Okay, so directly we have the property, right? So let's say directly I'm taking this one, so you can browse it, any kind of decision related rules are present or not. You can see here px evaluate decision table to call the decision table based on the string of the page name and rule name. Like this also you can call. And as well as the best way to use directly using function, you can directly use the function by using directly you can give like decision table dot obtain value. This we use mostly to capture directly without having any kind of problem. So tools, after that you need to mention the page. So right now we are not using any kind of page, right? Directly we are calling the property. Sometimes here what we do, we'll pass it directly rather than adding a property. Most of the times we'll call it temporary properties here. So we'll create a page, we'll try to give some page value. I will try to say with clarify with another scenario, but directly I don't have any kind of page. Directly I'm referring the property, right? So in that case you can directly keep my step page or something. So whatever the step page it is going to have, it will capture. And definitely you need to mention your decision table name, then only this functionality is going to pick your decision table, and it will runtime, it will check whatever the name, with this name what requirement in this specific rule set, what kind of decision tables are present, it will check. And we need to mention the condition as true. So this is how we can call the decision table rule by using the data transform. This is a function we can use it. And also, okay, so yeah, so we'll continue with this. So if you have any kind of pages, right, we need to change only this page value, or else you can keep it any kind of page, you don't need to mention also fine. So like this only we can call the decision table rules. And this one is going to give the results as 0 because you're not passing anything, right? So if you don't pass anything, we already mentioned, like here if it is not, nothing is getting passed, the otherwise condition is going to be give the result as 0. So like this it is working. Let's copy this one and submit. In the same way I want to call for the test results also. Let's call the test results.
Yeah, just one doubt here. So
Yes,
you're setting this param dot attendance dot pf. Why you're setting this value here?
parameter value, right? So whatever,
Yeah.
after connecting with the decision table, right? So when you connect with the decision table, so first the section value, whatever the values are giving in the attendance percentage, test marks and project marks. Let's say percentage is more than 80, 20 to 25, and project marks is like 80. Okay, when you click on this check results, right, this data transform
Okay.
will run. So and this decision table is going to get picked, right? So whatever the decision table value is going to get picked, so your attendance percentage value will be taken into this criteria. It will check these three condition, whatever the result condition is matching, right, it will return the value. So this
Okay.
return value you need to hold in one place, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to hold this return value, right? To hold the return value only, we are capturing this parameter. Whatever the result is going to get, right, those results you are going to capture in this parameter.
Okay. Those are temporary.
These are temporary
Like
only.
temporary.
Yes, temporary purpose we are
Uh-huh.
going to hold based on these three values, right? After taking this parameter value, I will just again I will use these three things and I will combine. I will make a result whether he qualified or not. After that, I don't
But
need these parameters. I can
the
remove
values which
this.
is admitted in section needs to be posted in clipboard for this to be
We do,
evaluated, right? But
yes.
that did not happen.
We need to mention that again. We need to post the value into clipboard.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to do that manually, or else we are
Okay.
directly checking in the, not from the clipboard, right? We are not depending on the clipboard, we are directly checking. We are passing these values to the decision table. Whatever the value you enter, definitely you have to post those things, or else directly you can give the value directly. Decision table is going to check in this property level only, right? So whatever the value you are giving, it is going to be passed to directly here. This will be captured. If it is not posting, then you need to trace it. You need to give the post value on this. Clear?
Okay.
Okay. Now let's add this one. So let me take this. Next one is like student results and get test marks, right? So the same value, but here just we need to change the decision table name. This is the get test marks, and another one is for project marks, right? So we need to consider this decision table into this one, get project marks. And once you save this one, you can see here that error message has gone, right? So previously it was there like you are using the same thing for three parameters. Now what is the condition? Like, okay, I got the value. So whenever user is providing it in the section, right, some values, so on clicking on this one, so this data transform is running, it is directly matching with the specific, it is directly capturing the decision table here. And in the decision table directly on property level, you are already passing the value, right? It is checking whether it is greater than in this condition or returning something. If it is between this, returning something. If it is between this, returning, or else zero. So after the result is passing, and the result is going to get captured in the data transform, right? And it is going to capture into a parameter. Now these parameters are going to get the value. So after getting value, we need to decide what kind of conclusion you want to give. Let's say I want to give one more parameter, like I want to conclude the final value after connecting with these three decision tables. I want to just add these three things, and I want to decide like whether the person is qualified or not. Let's say 5 4 3 2, like the values will come, right? So like you mentioned, the written value is going to be happen in the scale one, right? So let's open this one and test one. Let's say here it is 5 came, it is 3 came, and if it is 0, so if it is not matching, then it is like first value is decimal, right? That is the reason it is not able to two parameters we didn't. So whenever you are planning to just combine these things, right, additional this one 530 means it is coming as 530. These things will happen only it is not able to identify the type. So these are the strings, right? So sometimes it is not going to be work, so you need to mention it as these three things are integer, then only you can do the additional part. Let's try and save this and go to condition. Now let's try here. Now it is going to be added, right? So if it is string means it is going to be added next to that one only. So that is the reason it is coming in this way. When it is come to parameters, definitely you have to click on test and do okay. Now I want to come to the conclusion. So this is the final score, whatever the values are coming from this one, right? I'm just adding those things additional to this one, and I'm going to use a condition when I will consider all the values. When the param dot final, if it is greater than 10 only, means each one we are maintaining the conditions, right? Here is 5, here is 5, and here is 5. On making of on average part, what I'm deciding, when the student percentage is matching with more than 10, final score is greater than 10 or final score is greater than some value, then only I want to capture the score as qualified. If it is otherwise, if is not matching, only only two conditions present for me, so I'm adding this one. This is directly will go to otherwise. If you have more condition means you can use otherwise when, or else directly the score I'm going to mention is like disqualified or not qualified or failed, something, any kind of, like this I will mention. Now what will happen, so when it is going to be combined, right, the values, so it will check like even the percentage value is going to be greater than 90 also, the test marks are less than 10, and project score is he failed, let's say he didn't attended or he failed, even we are going to consider everything in that way. We are going to consider if it is greater than 10 only, he is going to be qualified. And there is or many conflicts are there, just this is an example similarity. So when you take a proper like in real time, right, you will understand there will be many conditions will be triggered. You need to decide which one, like final score how much you need to consider means we are capturing as a example way, but you can capture in real time in the proper with examples like how what kind of scenarios it is going to be. If it is attendance is more, then how much value we can consider, test marks how much we need to consider, all the scenarios will be there. But right now I'm taking overall. If overall value is more than 10 only, I'm just making is qualified. If it is not, I'm going to make it as failed. So like this I'm capturing the value. So after this one you don't need any kind of parameters, right? And there is no looping also. Directly you can remove these parameters. There is no need of maintaining parameters. If the parameters are there also, it will be work only till this decision or data transform only. You don't need to worry about it. So let's keep it on trace and we'll try to use this. And before this one, when you call this decision table, sorry, data transform into activity, right? Sorry, data transform into the section, right? It will expect the parameter values also here. Why it is expecting the parameters means, as you mentioned, how this property value is going to map to the decision table. You are including this attendance percentage, test marks, project marks, fine. But how this is going to map to these parameters? This way we can, this one we can handle through this one, like attendance percentage. So I'm directly passing these values to this one. Why? Because actually here we don't need to do, because already we are using the properties, right? So how this is going to be work means, sometimes in the decision table one, right, here we don't need, we don't give the parameter directly, we don't mention the property. Sometimes we will mention like param dot some values, right? In that case we need to get the, we need to give the values here. While passing this one only, we need to pass this value. Then only we can mention in the data transform, we can mention here under the page, we'll mention the parameter value. Okay, we'll consider this kind of things, we'll consider directly on some other one. Okay, we'll try to take everything, we don't need to include in the one scenario only. So let me keep this one, I don't want to mention this one. So let's click on submit and check out. Now let's understand, we'll try to interact this section into one of the flow. Let's go to the process tab. Let's create a flow action for the score. So this rule set is locked. Okay. Let's try to run from here only. Now let's keep this one as let's keep this in tracer. Now here just create this one, and attendance percentage, as you mentioned, if the value is not going to be taken, we'll capture, let's say it is 90, if it is 24, and the project score we mentioned as again 98, so if it is 85, let's say. Now let's click on the test results. It is going to display the results as qualified. So when it's go to here, so here definitely you don't need to forget this one. Go to settings. If you want to include the decision table, right? So you need to definitely select the process as the checkbox from here, the decision table. Then only you can see the decision table value. So let's again try to replicate the same thing. Once you click on the check results, right? So again, let's move to here. So first, what it is happening? First, we are taking the greeting parameter is happening, right? So it is beginning. Once after the beginning, directly it is going and interacting with the decision table. So the decision table is going to be that get attendance. So whatever the value you are going to get passed, right? So let me take the PY work page one. So in this one, attendance percentage, you are giving 90, right? So this 90 related value, it will check with the decision table, and the value is going to come to your parameters. You can check in the under unnamed, so that related value, scale value, it is going to be get captured here. So whatever the value is going to get come, right, like for the three decision tables, at the end of the day, what we are going to do is just we are mapping the value into param dot final. When it is going to be just true, right, so we are setting the value into the respective property of score. Then we are going to get the results is qualified or not. Let me take here the values of project marks is going to reduce, like only 30, even if it is 30, and here it is not matching because here it is 5, and maybe here the value is something wrong, and here it is 0, so then the result is going to not map. Let's say here the value is again I'm going to keep 20, and we need to check based on the decision table only, it is going to get the results. It is going to give the results whether he is more qualified or he failed, or if it is both completely 0 and this is going to be 30 something value. So we can understand that based on the decision shape only how the value is going to get triggered, and whatever the configurations we have done in the decision shape, then only based on that the value will get triggered here. Okay, so while giving this decision table only, we need to decide what kind of conditions you want to capture it. So based on that, and there are, as you think, like many conflicts are there, but here we are just understanding how to interact with the section by taking one example, how to capture the values, and how based on that how to define the values, whether can be greater than 10, it can be greater than 8. Based on the average value we can decide, okay, whether he is failed or he needs some other one. So like this kind of things you can capture. So here what we learn is like we how to design the decision table, how to configure those things into the data transform. Okay, so if the same thing you can do by using the activity also, so rather than calling this one, you can include the activity also into this. So under the data transform, so you can call the, rather than data transform, you will have an activity as well. So once you click on the refresh strategy, right, so you can call one more thing called activity. So let's say the similar part you can do by using activity also. This one will understand in the next class. Let's say here you can use the decision table. You can take like property map decision table. Into this one you need to mention your decision table name. So get attendance, project marks, and whatever the things. But activity directly you cannot take the decision table, because what we need to do, we need to add the like we are doing some kind of logic, right, in the data transform. Again this data transform is needed to capture the result, or else it is needed to add more results, like similar things whatever you have done right in the data transform. In the same way you need to call again decision table three times, then you need to add property set, and you need to add these three things. Then again you need to use when condition, it will be very long. but Pega will not recommend you to use activity to do these all things. That's why I used data transform. But if you want to trigger, right, you can call the data transform into the activity by calling one of the feature like apply data transform. By using this apply data transform method, you can capture the data transform into activity. Then this activity method you can call in the section level. But this is not needed right now because directly we can refer the data transform into section level directly, right? So that's not a appropriate one to call. But usually if you want to do that one directly, you can do this in the activity, but we need to understand whether it is needed to create in the data transform or activity. The approachable part what is Pega is recommending, it's not to do. And if you pass this parameter page, all the parameters from the data transform, those values will get passed to the activity. If you don't select this one, the parameters value it will not pass to here. So like this one we can call. But whenever you are going to decide to which one to do means, first thing is data transform data pages report definition, then only you can come to activity. If nothing is going to done by using those things, then you can use the activity, or else you better to avoid this one. Okay. But if you want to, sometimes we will call the decision table into activity directly. In that case, what we can do, we need to mention the method called property map decision table. So in this decision table rule, it will expect only two things: what kind of decision table you want to call, and whatever the result, how you are doing in the data transform, right? After the mapping the value, you are capturing the value into parameter or property, right? Same way you need to match this. You need to capture the value into a parameter. That's it.